Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Techies. I'm D.Lee Beard, and I want to take a minute to thank all of you who bothered to, on our website, to scroll down and click on the donate button. Really appreciate it. That helps us to keep this show ad-free as well as unbiased. So I really appreciate it. Those of you who haven't donated yet, I encourage you to do so. It'd really help us out, and we'd really be appreciative. It's a way of saying thanks to us as well. Got a great show for you today. Macworld 2008 just happened out in San Francisco. If you haven't heard about the announcements, I'm going to tell you about them, as well as give you some input on what we think about those products, things that you might want to take into consideration before you buy or don't buy. All right? Well, first off, let's answer a viewer question about Second Life. Had someone who emailed about some of the things that we said in our Second Life video that we did last week. And in that, I may have given you a false impression regarding the requirements to get into Second Life. A lot of older computers can still get into Second Life. It's just that you may find things a little more sluggish. And so I was really encouraging you to try to be on a newer computer for your first attempt in, so things work faster. You have a good positive experience. But you can run it on older computers. I've actually pulled up the website here for Second Life, and it shows here the minimum requirements. You need to have a broadband connection, obviously. And for the processor speeds that they've got, for the Windows OS, you've got for XP or Vista, you need to have an 800 megahertz Pentium 3 or better, at least a half a gig of RAM. And it recommends, though, that you have like 1 gig of RAM and that you have a 1.5 gigahertz for XP or a 2 gigahertz machine for Vista. Okay? Now for the Mac OS, for those of you who are using a Mac, you'll find the requirements a little bit easier. It recommends a 1 gigahertz G4 or better, or a 1.25 gigahertz G4 or better. And they also mention graphics cards. I want to zoom that in for a little bit so you can see that. But the graphics cards are going to be what they recommend. You want to make sure you have a pretty good graphics card on there to get into Second Life, because it's so graphical. You saw how things rendered in our video. So I encourage you to still get in. Give it a shot. If you aren't sure if your computer's new enough, download it, install it, and see what happens. All right? Give it a shot. You can check out their system requirements from their website. If you want to see these yourself, it's basically from the Second Life website, and they have a link at the bottom for system requirements. It's right over here. The link is right there for system requirements. Okay? And that's where you can find out if your computer is up to date to be able to do it. Give it a shot. I encourage you, want to remind you that this coming Friday, January 25th, 2008, we're going to be hosting a live Second Life event. I encourage you to get into Second Life, see what it's like, and meet us there. You have tech questions, you have Second Life questions, Chris Kesey is going to join me as well. So this is going to be live. You get to talk with us right off the bat. Everything's live. Don't know what's going to happen. Could be crazy. But tune in. It's going to be Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. At the Ohio University's auditorium in Second Life. I have a link for it on our website. Let me zoom out here and I'll show you. If you go to our website, and if you go to our Second Life, episode 66, Second Life Orientation and Introduction, we've actually got links down here. And there's the quick link to the live event in Second Life right there. And it's also down here as well, quick link to the live quick link to the live event, Second Life, 1 p.m. Eastern, Friday, January 25th, 2008. Hope you do join. All right. Well, let's get into the really interesting stuff, and that is Apple. I want to talk first about what I thought was the biggest announcement in Macworld, and that was the Apple TV and movie rentals. This is a really interesting thing. In Apple TV, it was been out before. Basically, this is a little box that you can actually hook up to your TV set. You see it right there. There's the, zoom that in a little bit. And you could basically hook that up to your TV, and it's always had a hard drive in there, and basically you could stream stuff from your laptop to this Apple TV that's hooked up to your TV. It has an HDMI out port, it's regular video and audio, and you can watch things like our podcast, Ask the Techies. You could download and buy movies. You could watch TV shows that you downloaded off iTunes through the Apple TV. So basically it's an intermediary between your TV set and your laptop or PC tower or iMac, wherever that is. And I do mean PC tower. It works with PCs as well. One of the things that they've changed with the Apple TV, one of the biggest things, and they're really pushing this on their website, is that you can do HD movie rentals. Now this isn't going to be available for like another week, until like the end of January. You always had it where you could buy movies, but now you can rent them as well. Now it isn't clear when you go into iTunes and you go to rent one of their movies, it isn't clear, but you have to watch it within 24 hours of when you start to watch it. So let's say you download a movie and you want to start watching it in your office during your lunch hour, and then you want to finish watching the movie tomorrow during your lunch hour. You can't do it. It's got to be within 24 hours. Now you can download it and have up to 30 days to actually watch it. So if you download it Friday or you download it at work under your broadband connection and bring it home to watch it, you can transfer it to your iPod, then transfer it to your Apple TV or something like that. That's not a problem. You have up to 30 days to actually watch it. But once you start, you have 24 hours. And that's not real clear on their website. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with things if you have a bad battery on your computer where it doesn't keep the clock set right, because from what I understand, if you were to restart your computer and your clock goes back to another date, it's the default setting because the battery's dead, you may run into some problems. So your computer needs to be working functionally completely in order for this to work well. The downloads are like $2.99 for a movie, $3.99 for a current release. Then the HD ones are like $1 more, and they're starting off, I think they said, about 100 HD movies. I think that's really cool to be able to get HD movies, but I'm more of an owner, but I don't have an HD DVD player. I've been waiting to see which is going to win, HD DVD or Blu-ray. Although now I know that Blu-ray apparently is going to win out, because HD DVD, from what I understand, I just heard an announcement that Warner is planning on ditching that effort. And I don't blame them. Blu-ray seems to be winning out. It has more of a future, more capabilities. It can upgrade and go farther. So if you're thinking about which ones to buy, go Blu-ray. Anyway, but the Apple TV, the great thing I like about it is that you don't have to have a PC now. This is something that can work as a standalone device. Now, I've contacted Apple and trying to get a hold of one so that we can actually review it for you and let you know the details about it. So keep watching and I'll try to give you more details. I'd like to know whether you can subscribe to any podcast like ours. Sorry about that on the mic. If you can subscribe to any podcast like ours without a PC. It may be kind of hard to actually type in the feed, so it may be a lot nicer to kind of sync it with your computer. But it should work wirelessly. It's really fast transfer data, so it could be a good choice. There's two versions, one's a 229, one's a 329, depending on how big a hard drive that you want. The one thing I really don't like is it still has that little small remote you can kind of see on there. The one you get with all the iMacs, that little small thing. I kind of hate that remote because the back button and the search back button are the same button. So it's so easy for it to go all the way to the beginning when you only meant to go back like 30 seconds to hear what you didn't hear because somebody made a noise or they talked really softly. Something like that. So that's one of the big announcements, I think, is the Apple TV and how that's going to liberate. I mean, there's a writer's strike going on right now. There's a lot of content out there in podcasts, from basket weaving to, I don't know about basket weaving, I know knitting, there are podcasts on knitting, to Ask the Techies. And it might be really nice to be able to watch Ask the Techies sitting back, watching on your TV. Because I know some of our episodes are long. I'm long-winded, sorry about that. And so it'd be nice to sit back and just watch them on your TV set. We're trying to make that happen. Apple TV might be the way for you to go. I'll try to get one, try to review it for you, and give you more, so stay tuned on that one. The other big announcement was the MacBook Air. And they kind of have it floating there a little bit. This is a really, really thin laptop. Really thin. It's 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's thinner than any laptop I've seen. And part of the way they did that is the hard drive takes up quite a bit of space, and so does the CD, DVD, ROM drive, the optical drive. They ditched the optical drive, so you don't even have one. I don't think that's so much of a big deal. I rarely use mine on my laptop anyway. I already have my CDs ripped. It's not a big deal. I download stuff off iTunes. You can hook up an external, CD-ROM drive. In fact, the nice thing about that is I'm not hauling around an optical drive that isn't even what I want. What if I want a Blu-ray DVD burner? Then I could hook that up. I don't have to be stuck hauling around a drive that I'm not even going to be using, that I don't even really want. So that's going to be nice. They also, for the hard drive, instead of using even a laptop's hard drive, which is thin, they went even thinner. They took the hard drive that they use, like in the iPod, and put that in there. And as a result, it only has an 80 gigabyte hard drive. That's as big a hard drive as you can get on this MacBook Air. It's only 3 pounds, so they made it really lightweight by doing this, which is wonderful. Other things about it is they did give it 2 gigs of RAM. You can't upgrade it. They've already given you 2 gigs, which is a nice set. It really is, that they went ahead and gave you 2 gigs. I think that's good. May not be good for the long term, but the processor on this is a little slower. It's the slowest processor they have on any of the computers that they sell.